All right, then I'll start that stream.
I'll let you know when that's live.
Yep.
Yeah,
Notification on the phone.
Let me know when Periscope is live.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
God, I really hope nobody shows up.
What do you mean?
Like, I really hope everyone's still asleep and nobody's going to show up for this.
Why?
Because I can totally see people waking up at 8:30 and like just waking up right for the game. Like, I don't see. We got someone in here. How about that? Good on you guys for being awake.
All right, we're going live on Periscope right now. We're live on YouTube. Should we just wait till 8 anyway, or should we?
Yeah, I mean, we can. Yeah, we should probably wait till 8. Just let people filter in, I guess, if they want to. Most people when they do like a live stream, don't most people let people filter in first?
Yeah, oh yeah,
right?
No, we could do that. It's just, yeah.
5
minutes is a long time to do that, but.
Yeah, 2 minutes, I guess. Is it? Oh wow! I guess my clock is fast.
So we already have a comment on Periscope. It's too effing early. I hate these London games. And
right there
I can't say I disagree. So
yeah, we're you came to the right place to complain, man. This is the pity party for the morning right here. We're if you're already in here, by the way, on Periscope, YouTube, Shindig, whatever. Thanks for showing up. Honestly, I didn't think there would be much of a crowd this morning. Both Drew and I are still kind of waking up, so we're going to get started here in about 2 minutes and kind of just letting people filter in. So if you have any pre-game show thoughts and you want us to talk about those, we can do that real quick. Otherwise, sit tight, grab a beer. It's not too early to grab a beer because the Vikings are playing. Yeah, I've got mine going, so little carryover action. Main plan today is it's going to be a shortened show, obviously, because the Vikings start in about 30 minutes. We're going to talk primarily about Anthony Barr today. I dug up some of his better film clips from the Baltimore Ravens game. So that'll be a primary emphasis today. Obviously, he had the big response to Aaron Rodgers as well, so we'll talk about that for sure. Then I also have a couple extra clips in case we have time, looking at Danny Isidora a little bit, and then Everson Griffin, who's been on absolute fire. So that's the plan for kind of a half pregame show this morning here. Once again, thanks again for joining us this morning. I know that it's hard to wake up right now, and as I was just telling Drew before we got started here, I wouldn't be shocked if Vikings Nation, slept up until game time. I have no problem with that, and that's what I would be doing if I wasn't here. So thanks for being here, folks. Thanks for joining us as always. Looks like we got pretty healthy amount of people.
Yeah, we got a few comments already of stuff to talk about, so we're already doing pretty well there. We have Teddy Bridgewater and what Ian Rappaport just said about him on NFL Network, and then on YouTube in the chat we have Mckenzie Alexander. I believe he's active today.
He was. Well, let's start. Let's talk about Mckenzie Alexander real quick, since he did make that comment ahead of time here, and since everyone's probably not in here that wants to be just yet. So let's talk about him. Last week we talked a little bit about what him not being in the game meant for the Vikings. Obviously, the Vikings were able to mitigate those circumstances last week against Baltimore. He comes back today against an offense that is possibly worse than Baltimore somehow, despite all their injuries. That's nice to obviously get Mckenzie Alexander back. He's been outstanding all season long. We talked about his coverage back on Wednesday's show, I think. He's been impressive this entire season. I think Drew and I, over the course of summer, we talked, kind of got consistently more nervous about Mckenzie Alexander. After what we saw during training camp in the preseason, he didn't really show any signs of being able to step up into Captain Munnerlin's role. But over the first 7 weeks of the season, I've been really impressed, to be honest with you. This is a guy that I had coming out. I had a first-round grade on him. I thought he was going to get picked by the Steelers, where they picked Artie Burns, to be honest with you. And I think that he still has a chance to be great. It just took him a year to, assume the role, and he's progressing at, a gradual pace. But he's playing good enough football to be out there with the starting 11 when they're in nickel, and that's just about all you can ask of a second-year cornerback, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think today he'll get, I don't want to say an easy test, but Rashard Higgins, I believe, is going to be their slot guy today for Cleveland. So it's definitely not one of the toughest opponents he's faced all year. And from what I know about Mckenzie Alexander, at least this season, the way he's performed, he should have a relatively easy task there. He should be able to handle that role. It's just my biggest worry about this game. This is kind of on a tangent, but my biggest worry about this game is establishing the run on offense against Cleveland's defense, because Cleveland leads the league or I guess is the lowest yards per carry allowed in the league. I believe it's actually under 3.0. So Cleveland defense can stop the run with or without Myles Garrett in there. Obviously, that's a big loss, but Mckenzie Alexander, this defense, I'm not worried about any of that at this point.
Yeah, if we had a full 60-minute show here, we definitely would have been talking more about Danny Shelton. I figured that based off of the numbers and what we can see from our viewing numbers, you guys tend to like Vikings film shockingly more than the opponent film. So we cut the opponent out today for the shortened show. But Danny Shelton is a guy to watch for Cleveland today. He's their hulking nose tackle out of Washington. One of the biggest people I've ever seen in my entire life. And when I say big, I don't necessarily mean he's obviously strong, but he's also a massive human being. Like, in terms of girth, this is a massive,
a lot of space.
He really, really does, and he's pretty fleet of foot considering how big he is too. So keep an eye in the center there. Danny Shelton is the main, in my opinion, is the primary reason why they have been able to stop the run so efficiently. He's a lot like we saw in Brandon Williams last week, just a hulking nose tackle that can. He's more of a plugger than a pass rusher. He's not going to get after the quarterback in the same way that a guy like Linval Joseph does, but he absolutely eats up gaps, creates space for his guys to make stops, and that's what has made Danny Shelton so effective, and that's what has made the Cleveland Browns' run defense so effective this season. So that's a couple things on the Cleveland Browns to keep an eye on here. But let's talk Vikings, since we do have a shortened show here. Let's start with Anthony Barr. Before we jump into the film here, I want to talk a little bit about this reaction to Aaron Rodgers. If you've been in hibernation over the weekend, or you've just been partying for Halloween and you happen to miss this, Anthony Barr responded with one hell of a statement to Aaron Rodgers, who appeared on Conan O'Brien and essentially told the world that Anthony Barr shook his dick at him, and when he was laying on the ground. And it's, according to Anthony Barr, according to the video, from what we can see, it sounds like Anthony Barr's story and his clapback. It seems real to me. I mean, you can obviously see Aaron Rodgers. They, immediately on that replay, you could see on ESPN or wherever it was, you could see him blurring out the lips. So he was dropping some F-bombs in Anthony Barr's direction. It's just a matter of, was Anthony Barr's response?
Who made the first attack?
Yeah.
That's kind of what, if you really want to get into this. Who made the first? Who instigated it? Is kind of who's at fault. But really, this feels like something that happens. This feels like something that happens on every snap. It's not like, I'm sure if every single player had the little mic on for sound effects or whatever the show is on NFL Network, there would be a lot of profanities and 4-letter words picked up that should not be said on a normal basis. But that's what the NFL is. So I don't know. I guess I don't really know what happened. We're never going to know, but there's two sides of the story. They're both out. I just love the I don't care if you're Aaron Rodgers or Mr. Rodgers. I'm going to respond from Anthony Barr. I love that comment. And then I believe it was Andrew Renchen immediately, like 2 minutes afterwards, had the picture up of Aaron Rodgers' face on Mr. Rodgers' body, doing the whole shoe thing or whatever from the show. Yep. So I enjoyed that. I'm glad that this Vikings-Packers rivalry is taking another step, because I feel like it needs further legitimacy, at least from the Green Bay side, because of the whole Packers-Bears dynamic.
I was gonna say yesterday, which team do you guys hate more now? Green Bay, Chicago, or Minnesota? And I think we know the answer to that question right now. Anthony Barr has been spectacular this year. One thing that I do take away from an intangible perspective on that whole responding to Aaron Rodgers is that the confidence is definitely back with Anthony Barr. He's not afraid of anyone right now. We talked about, I guess we've been talking for about 6 months about how it was passion an issue for Anthony Barr last season. Mike Zimmer seemed to think so, at least from his press conferences. That was kind of the impression that he gave off. Anthony Barr is definitely playing with passion on and off the field this season. You love to see that. So let's take a look at what he is doing on the field this year that has been so impressive. I've got 3 different clips here. We'll start with the sack from last week because he was effective in all 3 he was effective in all three of his roles last week, and I'm going to give you a small clip of each one of them. So starting with pass rushing here, this one right here, Anthony Barr is lined up on the left side of the formation looking at it here. I believe he's going to come through the B gap here. He's going to line up over the C gap, though, and he's going to fly through the B gap, essentially untouched. This is a free runner play, so credit to Mike Zimmer for the design and the disguise
and
here.
It looks like Eric Kendricks kind of lined up initially in A gap and then floated over to the B gap, kind of where it was. They both attacked the B gap, which, especially if you make that adjustment late before the snap, can really confuse an offensive line.
Absolutely. So let's take a quick run through this play, get a look at it for those of you who haven't seen it or don't recall. This is the play right here. Basically, Barr is going to come clean. And this is, like I said, this is not just Anthony Barr here. This is more a product of Mike Zimmer, in my opinion. This is good coaching, a good play design to get Joe Flacco and his basically getting his offensive lineman out, like not in the right spot, essentially. This is an example of Mike Zimmer basically just out coaching the Baltimore Ravens. So Anthony Barr is obviously doing his job in this play. But I just want to make reference to the fact that this is a Mike Zimmer design. This is all on Mike Zimmer. Anthony Barr just executed it to perfection. You see that 4.4 speed come out, that big frame. Obviously, once he gets to the quarterback, it's game over. This is something that Anthony Barr hasn't done much of over the last couple of years. We've seen his sack total sort of dwindle. But it's definitely nice to see him getting into the backfield again. He's been creating pressure all year. It's nice to see him finally get home on one.
Yeah, this is just simply a numbers game because, the timing of the adjustment is perfect where Flacco doesn't have the time to make an adjustment pre-snap to slide protection or to instead give the running back a blocking assignment instead of just a mere half chip on Everson Griffin. So then becomes basically 3 rushers or 4 rushers even against 2 linemen, and Vikings are going to win that every time, especially with a guy like Anthony Barr who's as explosive as any linebacker in football. So that's just simply a numbers game. That's great execution, but also, like you said, great scheming by Mike Zimmer to give the Vikings that advantage there.
All right, so here, this right here is going to be a pass play out of the backfield. Anthony Barr comes down in coverage extremely well. We've been talking about, as of late, as we've been talking about with the coverage chart, how a lot of those numbers without context don't necessarily look great, as guys like Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks are allowing a lot of receptions, but they're coming up and making the tackles. So technically, the reception is as good as an incompletion. In this case, the completion is actually worse than an incompletion, as this one goes for a tackle for loss. So this is going to be Buck Allen or Javorius Allen, depending on which name you're familiar with. The running back for Baltimore coming out of the backfield here. He's going to come across the formation. So he's right now, if you're looking at the play from the defensive perspective, he's lined up to the left side. Joe Flacco's right, and he's going to come all the way across, and Anthony Barr is going to follow him, and he's going to make the tackle for loss here. So watch the instincts, watch the acceleration, watch the tackling here. This is just an outstanding play by a linebacker that is well coached, disciplined, and as we've been talking about as of late, aggressively disciplined. He knows where the guy is going to be, and he hits the hole hard. He makes the play, and this is an example of where the athleticism shows. You see the blocker try to get out in front of Anthony Barr, too fast, too big, too agile, and he doesn't even get hands on him because Barr is that quick to the ball. This is a read recognition play where he executes it perfectly. We've been seeing this type of thing from Anthony Barr all season long.
Yeah, it looks like Barr's just in man coverage here. He's just assigned the running back here, and the thing that can happen when if you go as fast downhill or as aggressive downhill as Barr did here, if you mistime it, if you're late, it's very easy to miss that tackle. So the fact that he was able to time that very exceptionally well, beat the lineman there, and then still make the tackle, that's rare, because if he is a second behind there, or if he's too far ahead even, he's probably he's going to be either past the running back by the time he makes the catch, or Allen will make the catch and be able to have a pretty easy shot at making Barr miss in the open field, because guys running that fast downhill are not usually in great tackling position. But Barr timed it perfectly. He beat the lineman there. We've seen that from Barr before. It was probably back in 2015, but it looks like he's back to that 2015 form, and this is just one example.
It's also worth noting on this play here that obviously this is going to be a screen pass, but credit to Danielle Hunter here. You can see him on the left side of the screen. He's going to get this pass out probably a second faster than Flacco wanted it to. So the blocks aren't able to set up downfield. So if you're looking at it right now, I've noticed watching the replay that sometimes it doesn't sync up perfectly. But if you're looking at this right now, the ball is out of Flacco's hands, and the offensive lineman isn't quite ready to set up shop in front of Barr. This is an example of it, and you can see in the middle of your screen that Danielle Hunter has crashed over. Basically, the offensive lineman is at his mercy at this juncture of the play. So credit to Danielle Hunter for getting the pressure there, and then obviously Anthony Barr for doing his thing once again. So we'll finish up this Anthony Barr segment here with a run stop play. So he's doing it in all three phases, honestly. All three phases showed up just last week on film. So this right here, we've already gone through the coverage play. We've gone through the attacking the quarterback. This play right here is going to be attacking the running back. So just watch Anthony Barr. I believe he's to the right. He's on the right side of the formation right now. He's going to come onto the screen as the play develops here. So it's shotgun run, obviously. They're going to run stretch to the right. Linval Joseph gets great penetration here. Obviously, he's right in front of him. And Anthony Barr, if it's freezed correctly right now, as I said before, we've been having some trouble syncing it up. But Anthony Barr is in great position here to steal the edge. And basically, Linval Joseph is going to chase him to Anthony Barr. So this is the type of play for Linval Joseph, by the way, where it's not going to show up in the stat sheet for him, but this is a great play by him to basically funnel guys to the tacklers, get them to Anthony Barr. And that's a heck of a job by Linval Joseph to make that play. And then Anthony Barr comes in and cleans it up. So overall, this is a team effort, a great scheme by Mike Zimmer. And you see Linval Joseph doing his job. You see Eric Kendricks doing his job on this play. And Anthony Barr, obviously, he's the highlight player here. He sheds a tackle. He sheds a blocker, makes the tackle in the backfield. Vikings live to see another day. And this is something we've been seeing from him all season long. He's just been effective shooting his gaps, playing discipline, and being aggressive when he needs to be.
Yeah, see, this I really look at Linval Joseph here, and this is kind of why he's so dominant, and he doesn't really get the credit. I mean, he blows up this play, forces I think it has Allen to bounce it further outside than the play is initially intended, because you'll see with the offensive line, their assignment is basically the guy to their right on this stretch run to the right. So the left guard is responsible for Linval Joseph, and you'll see number 74. I obviously don't know this guy's name, but Linval beats him cleanly off the snap there. It's not even close. He's already past 74 by the time the running back has the football. So that forces Allen to try and run further outside, and that's where Anthony Barr is there to set the edge and make the play. We see Harrison Smith he's become really, really good at setting that edge and kind of forcing ball carriers back inside. Assuming that actually is Alex Collins at running back. But regardless, same thing. It would have been the same thing if Allen was in there anyway. Linval blew it up. Barr set the edge, and then those two things then allowed for Everson Griffin and Barr to kind of collapse on the running back for a loss of 3-4 yards. So Linval set the tone. Barr then set the edge kind of on the outside, coming down and forcing the running back back inside where his teammates are. And that's how this Vikings run defense has played really all year. I'm pretty sure they're third in the league in yards per carry allowed. That's one reason why.
Yeah, I have it paused right now in the position where you can see Linval literally funneling the running back Collins into basically, as Drew said, it doesn't matter who the running back is here. I don't care if it's primetime Adrian Peterson. When you're funneled like this as a running back and you have absolutely nowhere to go, you've got Linval Joseph, the strongest human being in the world, to your left. You've got Anthony Barr to your right coming off of a block. This is a position where good luck to any running back. I don't care if you're David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, or if you're just Alex Collins, you're probably getting wrapped up on this play. Again, this is a great play by both Linval Joseph and Anthony Barr here. So, all right, so moving on from Anthony Barr, I wanted to talk a little bit today about Everson Griffin, because we talk about him all the time on the show, but I feel like we haven't given him enough love in the film breakdown department because he has been so dynamic, so consistent. It looks like he's going to have another big week. Obviously, we talked about before. If you've been living under a rock, Joe Thomas will be out today. First game that he has missed in his entire career, I believe. Everson Griffin was pretty jacked to go up against him. He won't. Instead, he'll get some bum, essentially, and it looks like he'll probably extend his sack streak, at least on paper. It looks
Everson
that
Griffin,
way.
again, by the way, last time trash talked a tackle. He did get a sack, which he's going to sack every game this year. But he was a force against Greg Robinson in Detroit. And he called this left tackle slower, I believe, this week. Which
he said he should be playing guard. He said he should be playing guard.
Okay. I can't imagine he's wrong because Joe Thomas has been literally playing every single snap at that position for Cleveland since 2006. So
right.
They probably don't have a guy very experienced as starter behind Joe Thomas. So this will be interesting to see. I was kind of looking forward to the Griffin-Thomas matchup, but I guess I won't complain a whole lot here about Griffin facing a JV player, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So this play right here, this is going to be the Daniil. I believe this is the. Let me just run through it here because I can't remember which clip this is. To be honest,
that's the first snap of the game, I believe.
Yeah, this is going to be the Daniil Hunter sack, right? But so the reason why I want to talk about Everson Griffin on this play is because Daniil Hunter gets the sack, of his own volition. Obviously, he does a hell of a job, getting pressure here, beating his man off the edge. You can see him with his hand fighting right there, basically shakes his guy. But because Everson Griffin crashes down in front of Flacco, he's unable to step up in the pocket. You can see right now Everson Griffin has basically closed off that lane in front of him. So it's basically fall into Daniil Hunter's lap or try to get off, probably a stupid throw. Those are Joe Flacco's options at this point in the play. So this is an example of where, again, like we just talked about with Linval Joseph, where you're not necessarily showing up on the stat sheet, but you're definitely showing up on the coach's radar here. Mike Zimmer definitely noticed, the pass rushing technique here, where Everson Griffin is literally going to fight to the inside. Daniil Hunter is going to fight to his outside, and basically they're just going to force. Again, they're going to, essentially funnel Joe Flacco into a position where he can't step up in the pocket, he can't make a clean throw, he can't throw off his back foot. They've eliminated all of the worst case scenarios. Essentially, his vision is blocked by the offensive tackle standing upright. Even though he is a tall quarterback, it's difficult to see over an offensive lineman when he's getting beat that hard by both Hunter and Griffin. This is just a great team play. But this is an example of where Everson Griffin is doing his job despite not getting to the quarterback. And again, like Anthony Barr, he's been doing this virtually on most plays. It seems like Everson Griffin is always getting a pressure, always in the backfield, always creating a difference. So even when he's not getting the sack, he's still making a difference. Yeah,
we've talked about this before. It's when you make an impact play on defense, most of the time it's actually a team effort of guys, kind of a domino effect of guys doing their jobs well that gives X player the potential to make this play. And that's exactly what happens here. Everson Griffin beats his guy to the inside, or at least kind of with a bull rush, just kind of forces him backwards. That collapses the pocket on the left. Flacco then is forced to move right into the lap of Daniil Hunter. And when you have a pair of defensive ends like that can rush the passer with a combination of either finesse or bull rush moves, you're going to get a plays like this significantly. It probably wouldn't take very long for us to find a clip of Hunter doing the same thing, forcing the pocket to collapse, and then the quarterback moving left right into Everson Griffin's lap. So that's what you get with this Vikings defense. It's the most talented defense in the NFL. I don't really have much doubt about that. So it's on all three levels, and right there you see the example on the defensive line.
Absolutely. So I wanted to jump over to the offensive side of the football just for one play here, because everyone is reasonably so excited about Danny Isidora, the rookie out of Miami. A lot of people projected that he would probably step in for Joe Berger next season after he likely retires from football. He gets thrown into the action last week, ends up playing a position at left guard that he never played at Miami, and actually does a pretty good job. So I want to look at this play in particular. This is the long Murray touchdown run. Obviously, there are plenty of nice things to say about Latavius Murray on this play. Got some nice wiggle. You see the the explosiveness that Matt Asiata doesn't have. If you are someone that compares Latavius Murray to Matt Asiata, his ability to move laterally is just
that
not
comparison is not a thing anymore. I don't think.
Yeah, it's dead.
That run.
Right. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. But let's take a look at Danny Isidora here. So like I said before, he's the right guard on the play. If you're looking at it from the defensive side of the ball, he's going to be on the right side lined up directly to Pat Elflein's left here, right? So you're going to see him. He's basically going to kick. He's going to be in charge of kicking this guy out of the play here with help. So he's on a double team here. So this is definitely designed by Pat Shurmur to give the rookie a little bit of a break. But this isn't an excellent seal by Danny Isidora, but he does enough on this play. So let's keeping an eye on the interior here. Try not to watch Murray. Try to watch Danny Isidora the whole time. I know it's hard. And basically, he's going to kind of fall back out of the play, but he gets in the way just enough to create
and he allows Reef to get to the next level too, because I think Reef kind of helps Isidora clip that guy, and then that allows Reef to get to the next level. When you have Isidora making a solid impact there on Williams, I believe that is, and that Reef can then get to the next level and find a linebacker and make the play there.
Yeah, so this is a situation where it looks to me, obviously I don't know the play call, so I'm somewhat guessing here, but it looks like we got a bit of a zone blocking scheme here, and Riley Reef, as Drew said, is going to try to get to the second level. And you see that second level seal here, and now look at that running lane right there. Look at how big that gap is. Latavius Murray is a big ball carrier, but he can definitely still fit through that gap. Very impressive play by him. To get to this point right here, and once you get into the open field as a running back, your one job is to make someone miss. That's exactly what Latavius Murray does here. Obviously, makes a nice cutback here and stumbles his way. It's not the prettiest of runs. It's not Tariq Cohen pretty, but he definitely finds a way to get into the end zone here, and that starts with Danny Isidora up front. So for those of you who are excited about Danny Isidora, this is just proof and a kind of a reason, a building block per se, something to be excited about with him, because this is a young rookie that could definitely run block. We saw him do that very, very well at Miami. I believe he does get the start again today, so we'll see a little bit more extended action with him, and that's something that I'll be looking at on film obviously next week. But very impressive debut as far as I'm concerned. Some bugs in his game, some things that he's got to work out, but for a rookie, relative to his draft position, relative to the situation, hell of a performance by Danny Isidora. I thought he did a great job last week. I'm somewhat expecting him to, start shifting towards taking over one of those interior line spots, whether it's Nick Easton's job or Joe Berger's job, whether that's out of retirement or simply ineffectiveness. But I think that Danny Isidora is a guy to keep an eye on moving forward because of how great he has played as of late.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And we're going to kind of transition here because we got just a few minutes before kickoff. So I wanted to bring up the Teddy Bridgewater segment on NFL Network. Ian Rappaport went on and kind of basically said that, he expects Teddy Bridgewater to be healthy after the bye. And then the words he used, I believe, were to compete for the starting job, which we've heard in the past from the Star Tribune, media people, Andrew Kramer and Ben Gasoline, that Teddy Bridgewater will not be activated to be a backup, right? So from what I'm piecing things together here, but kind of what I'm hearing is that the Vikings expect Teddy Bridgewater to be back after the bye, and from there they expect him to start. It's kind of what I'm gathering here. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions based off of two kind of different reports, but if you hear from Rappaport that he's expected to be healthy, and you hear from Andrew Kramer, I believe it was, he responded to a question about this, saying that the Vikings will activate Teddy to not be a backup. I kind of am piecing together that he's expected to be a starter soon after the bye week, if not right away after the bye week.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way with Teddy Bridgewater. Good news. I think that, this was something we were somewhat expecting as we, got more and more news. Obviously, A month ago, this is something we definitely were not expecting, but as of about a week ago, it sounded like Teddy Bridgewater had a very realistic shot to start coming out of the bye. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you to watch that story moving forward, but it sounds like Teddy Bridgewater will be back in charge of the Vikings as soon as 2 weeks from now, coming out of the bye. Let's finish up here with our score prediction and any final thoughts. Before we do that, though, let me quick run a note from our sponsor here, Shamrock's Irish Nook, downtown St. Paul. Do a heck of a job before Wild games and before Vikings games. Make sure to check them out. You can get a ride to the game. They got 3 separate shuttles that leave an hour and a half hour before, then obviously at game time as well, both for the Vikings and for the Wild. You can obviously get a great burger and your alcoholic beverage of choice while you're down there as well, pre-gaming for the game. So make sure to check out Shamrock's Irish Pub, downtown St. Paul. Fantastic beer, fantastic burgers, and always a great place to check out some sports. So, Drew, let's hear your Vikings-Cleveland Browns prediction for today in London. We're about 3 minutes from kickoff right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go Vikings 27, Browns 6. In any way, really, that you look at this game, the Vikings have the advantage here. And the Browns are missing a bunch of key pieces, too, on the defensive side of the ball. It's not really a fair fight, and I really don't want to get too confident because this Vikings team has definitely let us all down before. But I'm going to go Vikings 27-6. I think this is the week the Vikings get a defensive touchdown. And I mean, this Browns offense is nothing terrific at this point. So, and I think the Browns stay with Kaiser in this game, or at least I want them to, because that would be the right move. But I could definitely see a situation where the Browns play more than one quarterback today.
Yeah. For a scoring prediction, I mean, I've got the Vikings winning in a big way too. I'll say 27-9. I saw that I saw in Vegas they have Vikings are -9.5. I thought that was kind of a little bit low. I expect the Vikings to definitely win this game by double digits. So if you have the money, I think that's probably a safe bet. But like Drew said, you're always nervous about the Vikings to blow it. This does have trap game written all over it. Browns have nothing to lose here. Vikings have a lot to lose.
Establish the run. Establish Murray or McKinnon.
Establish the run early. Make sure to get Cleveland playing on its heels. If you can get a touchdown early in the game and force Deshaun Kaiser or Kevin Hogan or Cody Kessler or whichever quarterback is in there for the third quarter today, get them playing from behind. You're going to have an opportunity to create turnovers, and this could be a blowout win. If the Vikings can get on the board early and, as Drew said, stop the run, control possession, maintain the tempo, and make sure you're getting something out of your drives so that the defense is not sweating their asses off come the fourth quarter. That is the About the Labor pregame show for London here. We appreciate you guys tuning in before game time. As I said before, I did not expect this many people to be awake half an hour before game time. So thanks for joining us here. We'll be back with a full 60-minute episode, I guess, in 2 weeks here. We'll figure something out for the bye, though, so make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube or follow us on Periscope or whatever it is, and so you can get that notification. I'm thinking it's something like a midweek film review or something like that. So we'll see you guys then. Otherwise, About the Labor podcast will be up Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. Central Time per standard with our rapid reaction. So thanks for joining us, folks. Enjoy the football game, and we'll see you later on.